our series of press briefings, and I would like to announce another topic from another press briefing, and that is key issues of internally displaced persons, IDPs in Ukraine, and steps to resolve them. So this is a continuous theme for our discussions. We will discuss it this time with Oleksandr Melanchenko, civil activist, Kostyantynivka, Gennadiy Kobzar, IT top manager Donetsk, Oksana Yermishyna, entrepreneur Donetsk, Ruslan Rygovanov, anti-crisis manager Horlivka. Hello. We arranged this network as IDPs, as they call us, people who were forced to leave their domicile in Donetsk and the Crimea and Luhansk Oblast. And we are speaking on our own behalf, on behalf of those people who are staying in the gray zone that has been sufficiently discussed. We are speaking on behalf of those people who are in the liberated parts of Donbass and people who have the enterprises in the gray area. Having come to Kiev, to the mainland, we have been helping ourselves, helping other people as volunteers, but when the law on the special status of that territory was adopted, we understood that that was a problem that is here to stay, and many people cannot come back to their gray areas. We do not imagine the kind of law that will rule them. So for the sponsors, for all the support, we thank all the people who are helping or trying to help. But this is all ad hoc. We would like to approach such issues in a comprehensive and systemic fashion. So organization IDPs Committee is prepared to discuss systemic problems for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. We have already started this work. We sent letters to all the parties. Several parties responded to that, and they are prepared to meet us midway. For the new parliament, we suggest to have a special committee on IDPs under the Cabinet of Ministers, another committee, and the same for the presidential administration. We need at least a unit, not just for IDPs, but all the issues pertaining to the gray zone in Donetsk Oblast. There are several scraps of populist messages, but we need some thoughtful discussion. Unless we have that, so we see that from Minsk Accords we have people from Ukraine, Russia, OSCE, and some non-entities from the gray area. But the real people from the Donetsk area have no voice, have no hand in that, and they are discussing in the West only just the pro-Russian trends, and we have also pro-Ukrainian people in those areas. Maybe that will repeat the previous message, but in the course of all these months, and we are here from the very beginning of summer, we've been helping IDPs. Many volunteer organizations have been doing that, but this is about ad hoc problems, food, clothing. But we understand now that in the nearest time we're not going to come back to those areas, and people demand at least some light at the end of the tunnel for decent lives for the people, the lives they will lead in a year, in 2 years, permanent accommodation for them to obtain or to purchase, and a proper place of residence. Thank you. I would like to thank volunteer organizations, but this is not their province. The number of people is enormous, and we cannot do this on that kind of scale, the civic scale. So we have to develop a comprehensive program for the central agencies to pursue. Now, IDPs are held by volunteers, some local authorities. There are some pilots in Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, but they are targeted or odd, and we are talking hundreds of thousands of people here. People coming from the combat area, people who are pro-Ukrainian. The hybrid war that is waged now is just one of the ways to fight against Ukraine, to attack Ukraine. There's also a war going on in people's heads, and people need the future.
Good morning. Good afternoon. I'd like to announce another direction of activities. Previous speakers said that we plan to talk to state agencies and make large-scale projects nationwide. There is another project that people forget about, and here we will not find solution without help of our government. The projects of social adaptation, and not just temporarily displaced people, but also other citizens of Ukraine. The official information says there are tens of thousands of displaced people. There are hundreds of thousands of us. This is a big wave of migration, and people living in the areas where we move are not ready. Different regions have different mentality, and the problems that the nation reaps in form of war. It's a problem that for 20 years of independence of Ukraine, the nation did not think how to unite us, how to get all of us to know each other, to learn from each other. We have certain stamps that are given to us by politicians, and we are separated more than we are united. And now people who move in, they take jobs, they take accommodation, and if the government does not think about social projects aimed at working with psychologists, cultural exchanges, social project aimed to unite the nation, that we will not move forward. The social pressure will continue to grow. Too many people migrate, and too many people are still closed. Another problem, the problem of free territories. They're not talking about those problems. People who live there, the territory is considered to be freed, but you need to work with them even more with those than with those who live in big Ukraine. The government needs to show that they're interested in those citizens as citizens of Ukraine, because there is trouble and there are new pressure points, internal tourism, cultural exchange. All these programs need to be implemented today, short-term, long-term, middle-term. We cannot do all these things without help of the state. One of the directions of our activity is to create these projects and to lobby those projects so the government would join at level of education, at training civil positions of every citizen. This is something that we do. From my side, I'd like to say that everything that was said is not the secret, requires many expenses. There is a big problem today, and those volunteers who help solve problems, paying their own money, they lose their resources, and those businessmen who moved out help finance the movement of their employees, but now this is dead end. There is the financial institutions are closed to all Ukrainians. There are many laws. There are many people who have deposits in bank institutions are willing to use those funds to give the loan to the state and ask the government to help create general financial resource to create new jobs. It's not a secret that yesterday Chernihiv regional administration has signed big investment project to create new jobs. Why we cannot participate as business in this investment project to multiply the results. For example, implementation of EU association agreement. There are many things that businessmen can do, and they're ready to work. People raise the issue of employment. Do they need to create their own jobs to stop being unemployed? We are not asking for money. We are going to, as businessmen, to give jobs and possibilities to work, but just we need support in this. We should not invent a bicycle, so we need to use existing systems, existing laws, just to promote new jobs. We are preparing new program and redistribution of job resources, something that will allow to solve some logical problems, because we are not preparing an NGO, we're preparing a mechanism. Anti-terrorist operation will finish today or tomorrow or the day after. But just imagine there is another flood in Carpathians, and some people need to move from the West Ukraine to someplace else, and we still have the problem of internal migration and lack of support. People need to be supported by the nation and by the state. To conclude, I'd like to give a couple of words to say our main slogan. You need to understand that displaced people are not lazy. They are willing to work. They're willing to find new resources. We need to give them a fish rod, and they will fish themselves. Thank you. Oksana Melanchenko, Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. Who is your partner in government? Do you work with someone? In government agencies, we work with, we've sent these letters to all parties to create a committee on displaced people in a new parliament. Some parties like Power of People, the right sector, they have supported us. The public position and Party of Horlivka has responded to our request. We are working with other parties, with members of parliament in Svoboda, in Poroshenko bloc, and Narodny Front. We have friends. We didn't come out of nowhere. We know many people in the government, and we want to receive their help in the future. But they don't know who we should talk to. We don't have serious analysis of those who can work. We need to prepare this analysis, but we are willing to work and seriously discuss things, not just make protests. We are willing to create new partnership with government, with NGOs, with parliament members. We are trying to work with UN to receive their experience. We are aimed at long-term cooperation, and we're just building new connections. The time is very short, but we have to work for next decades to restore the economy of the nation, restore the unity of the nation. We are willing to do that, and we are willing to work with everyone who will provide help and support. I have a question. We talked and we keep talking about problems. Are there any specific solutions developed by the committee, steps that you're willing to offer to central government? Because last Friday we had press briefing of Ministry of Social Policy that declares that there are no problems in Ukraine because deposit accounts are reopened, the possibilities for housing are given, 41,000 have returned. We will not accuse the government. Yes, we'll not discuss whether they work or not, we'll not accuse them. But when we came to Kiev, we worked as volunteers, and we know from the inside all these problems that displaced people face. So I'd like to tell you that messages in society are heard all over the place, and they're very different. But we have certain projects developed related to culture exchange, related to adaptation of displaced people. We have worked for 4 months with psychologists, leading psychologists of Ukraine, that in our experience, these people are writing these projects and they would like to implement them all over Ukraine. So we have social projects that are related to building housing. We have economic projects. We have certain developments in this area, but we need to know who we need to talk to plan our life and to start those projects. There is another clarification. What are primary steps that we need to make to provide you assistance from our center, from the government, from citizens of Kiev, from NGOs of Kiev, from journalists, and from you? We need to discuss those problems that we have. Let's not hide our head in the sand. We need to know what to do today and tomorrow. What government needs to do. We need to find a contact point. Yes, there is Ministry of Social Policy, and from time to time they report on these problems. That they've solved these problems, that they have given people to stay during the summer. And we're not saying just to give place to live and give food. This is primitive solution. But if a person does not go to work, even very simple primitive work to move papers from one place to the other, they lose qualification. They use human qualities. So something that Ministry of Social Policy could not give. They gave fish, but they're not giving a fish rod. Nobody gives a fish rod. We are saying that we need to give a fish rod. And first thing that where the government needs to begin, they need to create agency that we can negotiate with. They said that we have given housing to 200,000. You cannot check this. What does it mean? 200,000 housing. You can place them in tents. But to give opportunity of new life to 200,000, that's another thing. There are people who moved because of explosions. Some are believe that they're part of Russia, so they will return as soon as war stops. But those who are pro-Ukrainian, they will not return. We need to assimilate them. So we need to say that in small district areas where Ukraine needs to be developed, maybe we can place our displaced people and give them investment, and then people of the area and employer and those who have moved, they will work there as well. Like Russia did. Those who were displaced, who moved from Ukraine to Russia, they put them to live in Kamchatka and other distressed areas. Government does not say we need to raise Pereyaslav-Khmelnytsky or some other areas like in Ivano-Frankivsk area where people are needed, specialists are needed, jobs are needed. We don't see these offers. We have given food, we have given shelter, but although volunteers are actually doing this work instead of the government, and the government is more reporting than does the job for people who they have supposedly fed and sheltered. You asked what we can help. Create a positive image for those who are displaced, because our situation is such today. Everyone wants to explain some crisis issues, some negative things. I'd like to say that today many displaced people are not even registered because very few are shy. Very many are shy and hesitant. One lady has 25 years of school experience, teaching experience, yet she went to be a cleaning lady in the school because she was not accepted as a teacher. So these people who have moved are not criminals from Donetsk. They are really people who have worked, who have brought culture and education to those areas, who have promoted good things, and now they're displaced. Please find them a good image and find them a place to live and to do things. We believe that we try to discuss those problems as much as possible and to raise this issue to public knowledge. Thank you for